Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff and welcome to another Gideon Stuff adventure video. This one's a little bit different from some other videos in this series, but I think it's worth including in this series and I hope a lot of you guys really enjoy it. We're in the garage, as has kind of become the norm for these videos. I tried filming this yesterday outside in my backyard. Didn't like where the video was going though, as sometimes happens, so scrapped it. We're going to try again today after work and stuff, but it is currently super windy and dusty outside, and I don't want to have to put up with that. So here we are. Welcome to the garage again. Sorry if you can't stand the garage, but try to change up a little bit now. Instead of sitting out underneath my rock shelves, we're sitting here with the garage doors. I probably should have stuck with the rock shells because today's video is all about rocks, specifically gem and mineral shows. Now, as a lot of you guys know, I work in a natural history museum and I love it. Science communication and education is something that I am super passionate about. That is my calling in life, to bring a greater knowledge of geoscience to the general public. I think it's very, very important that people understand more about geoscience than they do. Earth science education in the elementary school, middle school, high school level is garbage. It is so bad. It's woefully underappreciated by teachers and not addressed well. And so any chance I get to talk to people about geology, paleontology, oceanography, cosmology, meteorology, things like that, I take it. I absolutely love that kind of stuff. And in that vein, one of my jobs with the museum is to attend different outreach programs. We set up a booth and we talk to people about earth science. And we do this at schools, we do this at STEM fairs, we do this at community events, public forums, things like that. One of the things that we do is we attend local gem and mineral shows. We set up our educational booth. It's staying in. We set up our education booth and people can come ask us questions. Something that we get a lot is people bringing us rocks and things they want us to identify, which is obviously very fun. And we'll talk about that more here in a little bit. About a month ago, at the time of recording, you guys probably aren't going to be seeing this until beginning of May. It's middle of April right now. But about a month ago, I spent about a month and a half on the road traveling to different gym shows to do our educational outreach. Over the years, I have done a lot of different gym shows with the museum. I've been in West Texas, Arizona, and a bunch of gym shows in New Mexico. And about a month ago, I was all over New Mexico for these gym shows. Because I've done this so frequently and so often, I have gotten to know a lot of the people who also have booths at the gym shows. And they're very neat people. If you're a dealer, if you're an artist, if you're a rock hound who's selling at these events, you're a very neat person. Okay, and pretty much everyone I meet at these events has a wonderful personality and great stories to tell. And that's something that I kind of want to highlight in this video. This is a video that I've been wanting to make for a long time. And the idea was inspired by the people that I meet and talk to at these shows, specifically the other exhibitors. See, I am there for a very different reason than everyone else in the room. I show up and I set up my little booth with the same items every single time. They are not for sale. And I just stand there and I just talk to people. Not trying to sell anything, just talking, right? The other exhibitors are vendors and artisans. This is their livelihood. They have to sell things to live, right? Some of these vendors travel all over the country. I heard some wild numbers while I was talking to different people. One guy was saying that over the past year, he's been home for 10 days. People talk about how they spend 3/4 of the year on the road, going to different shows, selling items, and they spend the other quarter of the year either making things, polishing their stones, making jewelry, whatever it is they do, or digging for minerals so that they can polish them up and sell them. That's very different from what I do, right? This is not my livelihood. It's my job, but this isn't my livelihood. And a lot of the vendors and exhibitors and artisans that I talk to come from just really, really diverse backgrounds. You've got a ton of different people, but we're all kind of connected through our love of rocks. But we're connected in a way that's different than the people who come to the shows, right? The people that come to the shows also love rocks. You know, ooh, shiny rock, I want to buy that. They're collectors, they're hobbyists. Me, the vendors, the exhibitors, we have taken our love of shiny rocks to the next level, right? For me, I went and got a degree in loving rocks. Okay, I love the science. I love looking at a rock or a mineral and figuring out how it grew, what's in it, what can it tell us about the history of the earth. The artisans and other vendors have taken their love of rocks and made it into a career and an art. They've polished their skills around their love of rocks. Cutting gems, making jewelry, finding all these different rocks and minerals that they can sell. We have taken our love of rock hounding and mixed it with our love of adventure and thrill seeking and made it into what we do. And again, even then, we have a lot of similarities, but I am at these gym shows for a completely different reason. I'm kind of the outsider. I'm kind of the outcast at these shows. Now, every one of these shows is wonderful and lovely. I know a lot of people. I see them at this, different shows that I go to. It's kind of a small community. In some cases, everyone knows someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows you, right? It's a small community. It's kind of tight knit, and just by going to these shows, you start making connections, learning faces, learning names. But I do feel a little bit on the outside of that because I'm academia and these people are not academia, which is awesome, honestly. It really is awesome. I love seeing people get excited about geoscience in any way possible. And I think gym shows are a fantastic introduction to geoscience. You attract large crowds, people want to come and look at pretty rocks, and then there I am to lasso them and teach them something about Earth's history. Now, over the month and a half that I was going to these shows, I took a lot of video footage, and we're going to go through all that. We're going to, discuss some things, but the main attraction of this video is an interview that I'm going to play towards the end, where I'm talking to 3 vendors that I met at one of the last shows that I did. And I was so glad that these 3 people agreed to sit down with me. Wonderful, wonderful people, just absolute gems of human beings. And they all come from very different backgrounds, and they have incredible stories to tell. So I can't wait for you guys to listen to that. But until then, let's go ahead and talk about what it's like being an educator at a gym show. I always enjoy doing these gym and mineral show programs. I know a lot of the people. I see a lot of the same people in the area, so I know a lot of the vendors. I know a lot of the different organizations that are represented. But at the same time, I'm always kind of an outsider, kind of on the outskirts of things, because I'm here representing the museum that I work for. So we do education only. I'm not a vendor. I'm not selling things like everyone else is, and so I'm here for a very different purpose. And a lot of times people come up to my table when I'm running it, and they'll ask me, "Oh, how much for this, that, and the other?" And I've got signs that say, "Oh, I'm education only," but they still ask. And sometimes that people are only here to buy things, and so they'll ask, and I say, "Well, I'm not selling," and they get kind of upset. I also have a different perspective on a lot of these things and a lot of these vendors, because all of these people are experienced rock hounds. They all know their rocks, minerals to some degree. But as a geologist, I approach things from a slightly different perspective, and we think about things a little bit differently. And it's very cool to me that the different conversations I have with people, and just seeing different people's perspective. The perspective that I enjoy the least are the pseudoscience, crystal healing, mumbo jumbo woo people that I run into at these shows. They're the only ones that I find to be truly annoying, and some of them are fine, but man, they can be awkward.
But they're training them. Well, you have to look at what people have. And we have this what's like, oh, yeah, this is different what you have. So that's how you go. People come in and go. That's what happened to us, which is when we wanted to get into that, because we realized, yeah, it was 3 years What? I know, it's like you want to just pick it up like this. You're so pretty. You're so cute. It's like water that's in the I'm not 100%. I'm still new to the game, but I think the guy got me. I like real cars.
That's my favorite. It's so beautiful.
You want to? Are you taking?
Right.
Those little ones that have the real strong crystals, they give it to you.
Once I get to 14 or 30,000, it's gonna be a lot better. But I kind of like the dome feature.
Holy cow, that thing weighs a ton. Jeez. $42. Not sure. Some of these tools I could get some pretty good use out of. These would be helpful for some of my stuff. What on earth is this monstrosity? Okay. Well, day 2, I'm here with my taller and much handsomer museum buddy, Jagger. What's your favorite and least favorite part about doing these shows?
My favorite part, I honestly love hanging out here and like just talking to people about rocks. It's pretty fun. I'm super awkward.
Oh, I'm awkward.
Honestly,
you're doing just
The
fine.
people watching aspect is pretty fun.
The people watching aspect is super fun, especially when people come by and we have like this little. I'll grab it right now. We have a little toy ammonite on our table next to actual ammonite fossils, and I think it's only happened once today, but it happened like 3 times yesterday where someone's like, "Is that real?" And I always take that question and be like, "Is this a real animal that used to exist?" Well, yes, but no. What they ask is this like a real like
Everything
fossil?
on our table is a real fossil, but like this is the only one that's not.
Yeah, kind of bizarre. Whatever. My favorite part of the show is also talking about rocks and educating people. My least favorite part of the show is woo peddlers and quartz dildos. Quartz dildos are a huge bummer. Last year, I was set up right next to the guy who's the connoisseur of mineralogical orgasms or something like that. That's not what he's called, but he had a lot of freaking dildos. Yeah, that's my least favorite part of the shows. Other than that, it's great. It's always great. And it's a good thing that we enjoy most of it because we have back-to-back shows for the next couple of weekends. It's going to be fantastic. We get to do a lot of traveling.
Can't complain about that.
Can't complain about that at all. There's a lot of joy and frustration about going to these gym shows. Some of the joys are talking to people who are genuinely interested in geology, especially kids. At one of the shows that I went to, there was this young high school girl who loved rocks and minerals, but she didn't really know that she was in one of the best places on Earth to study fossils and rocks. And I got to talk to her, gave her some literature for my museum, for a couple of universities here in New Mexico and stuff. And I was able to encourage her to chase this passion, turn it into a career. And that's something that I love because a lot of kids don't realize that you can take your love of fossils and rocks and make a career out of it. This girl, she came on day 1 of the show and I was actually all out of brochures and everything. But I told her, I said, if you come back on day 2, I'll have a whole stack of stuff to give you. She came back and seeing that sparkle in her eyes, seeing her get excited about the prospect of studying rocks and minerals made me feel really, really happy. Something else that made me feel really happy was another high school girl comes up to the table and she has a bunch of rocks that she wants me to identify. She goes around and she starts picking up rocks. And one of the rocks she had for me to identify, we were in the TRC area, Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. And one of the rocks that she found looked like a mantle xenolith to me. It was in basalt, very similar to some of the mantle xenoliths that come out of places like Kilburn Hole. Actually, I have a mantle xenolith right here. Just a second. All right, so we're going to talk about this for just a little bit. I need to charge my flashlight, but actually, this might not even help. This is a mantle xenolith. You see right here, we got this gray rock. On the outside, this is basalt. On the inside, we have this very sparkly, what we call porphyritically textured green and black rock. So a xenolith is a foreign rock that gets trapped up in a younger magma. And so in this case, we have the older green rock that has been enveloped by this younger basaltic magma, and it was erupted to the surface and it cooled. The green rock is peridotite. It's a mantle rock. If you guys know the structure of the Earth, you have your crust, mantle, core. Mantle rocks are what we call ultramafic. They have very high concentrations of elements like magnesium. And so this rock here is composed of olivine, diopside, and a bunch of other ultramafic rocks. Anyways, it's not really the point here. This girl brought a rock that looked very similar to this, except it was kind of orangish. And olivine alters to a mineral called ittensite. These rocks are not stable on Earth's surface, and they degrade very, very quickly. That's why finding them in good shape like this is such a big deal. Oh, actually, look. Here's another great example of kind of a xenolith. You have this little bit of an andesitic rock caught up in a rhyolitic rock. So anyways, the rock looked a little bit different. And I asked her, I said, this doesn't look like it came from Kilburn Hole or any of the Mar craters in Arizona. There's a lot of places in Arizona where you can find these Peridiotites. So where'd you find this? She said, well, I found it here in Tier C. And so we were able to talk a little bit back and forth about how it's very important when you're identifying a rock to know the provenance. She had great info on the rock's provenance. She was able to show me on Google Maps where she found it. And we did a little bit of brainstorming together. I found a paper that was actually talking about exactly the rock that she was discussing, and I was able to get access to the paper because I'm in academia. And so I sent her a copy of it. But that was really, really exciting for me to see. I love it when young people are getting interested in geology, and that really, really makes this worth it. The other thing that makes it worth it is talking to the other vendors, because I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know every mineral. Okay, I know, it's shocking. There's about 5,000 different species of mineral. I don't know all of them. And there are a lot of mineral dealers in the room who are probably better at identifying minerals than I am, right? There are a lot of really, really weird random minerals that are super niche. You know, for every 10,000 pieces of malachite, there's going to be one, I don't know, super random, obscure mineral that I've never even heard of. And so it's really cool for me to talk to other vendors and learn a little bit more about some of these really niche minerals. And sometimes people will bring me something where like, I want you to identify this. And I'll look at it and be like, geez, that looks like apophyllite to me, but I really don't know. Let's take it to someone else. Or hey, you see that guy across the room? Take it to him. He might be able to help you out better. And I really enjoy that a lot too. And that's something that I always try to be very, very open about, is if there's something that I don't know, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not an expert on everything. And I am completely fine with saying, hey, someone else in this room can help you better than I can. And I think a lot of people have that attitude. There's the low law of cooperation. People send me things, other vendors, people ask other vendors questions. They'll be like, I have no idea. Go ask the museum guy in the corner. It's fun. And so I love that kind of cooperation and enthusiasm around rocks. There's also a lot of frustration. So I love when people come and ask me to help identify a rock or mineral or fossil sample. I love that kind of detective work. Something I hate though is when people come up to me and they say, hey, can you identify this picture of a rock I found? If you find a cool rock, take it and you want it to be identified, take the rock itself to a geologist, okay? And if you do have to take a picture, make sure you take a picture with good lighting. Make sure you have something in the picture for scale, throw in a coin or something. And make sure you've got good info on where you found it. One of the most frustrating things in the world to me is when someone comes up and says, hey, can you tell me what this is? And they show me a grainy, dark picture of some random blob of a rock in the corner of their grandpa's house. And I'm like, I can't really tell what that is. Where'd your grandpa find it? Well, I don't know. It's just, we've just had it for 100 years. It could be something cool. I don't know, because I have literally less than nothing to go off of. Looking at a rock is one of the weakest ways to identify it. I need to hold it. I want to feel the specific gravity. I want to look at it with a magnifying glass a little bit closer. If I can, I want to scratch it with a knife blade. I want to stick a magnet on it. I want to rub it on a streak plate, right? There's a lot of different things that I use to help me identify rocks, and most of them require me to have the rock in my hand when I'm doing that. So that's kind of frustrating. Something else that is somewhat frustrating for me is anti-science sentiments. And I say this is only somewhat frustrating because people who don't understand science are exactly the kind of people that I want to come and talk to me, right? Because if you don't understand something and you want to understand it better, I'm the guy to ask. I will explain it to you. That's fine. What's a little bit less fine to me is when pseudoscience peddlers come up to me and just want to fight about different topics, because that's not productive. Nothing I say is going to educate them because they've already decided they don't want to be educated, and it's just wasting my time when I could be talking to someone who has actual questions. And there's a couple of different pseudosciences that I run into quite often. And again, nothing against people who believe these kind of things. It's only when you're coming up to me for the sole purpose of fighting. One of my flaws as a human is that I will fight you. Like I'm sorry if you come up to me and you're saying some goofy stuff, I will fight you just because that's who I am. But you're wasting my time. I'd much rather be talking to someone who has genuine questions. But the kind of pseudoscience that I see brought up most frequently to me, especially at the gym shows, is crystal energy, healing, magic, woo stuff. Look, I don't have a whole lot of problem with people who believe this kind of thing. If you want to carry around a rose quartz crystal in your pocket because you think it helps align your chakras or something, go for it. You go right on ahead. I'm not going to take that away from you. But if you're going to come to a scientist and argue about how your rock collection can cure cancer, I've got a little bit of a problem there. And especially if you're going around telling people who are sick that all they need to do to be healed is rub a little bit of fluorite in their belly button, you and me have got a big problem. I do not like that type of shit. I've got a couple of things I want to say about this. Number one, when it comes to rocks and minerals having healing energy, the third law of thermodynamics kind of shits all over that. I'm sorry. A perfect crystal at 0 Kelvin has 0 energy, right? What is a crystal? It's a liquid that has become solid. That's all crystallization is. It's a process of a liquid solution turning solid. Water to ice, lava to basalt rocks, right? That's all it is. In order for a liquid to cool, it has to enter a lower energy state, right? So let's go back to our lava. Lava is hot, melted rock soup, right? It's hot. All the atoms that are in that mixture are buzzing around because they have a lot of energy. That's what happens when you heat something up. That's why things melt. You heat them up to the boiling point. You heat them up to the point where the atoms start vibrating so hard that they dissolve the bonds that they've made, and you get a liquid. Same thing happens when you're cooling, just in reverse. A lava loses heat, which means it's losing energy. Those atoms start to vibrate slower and slower and slower until they bind, right? So, when you're talking about the energies that you're feeling out of a rock, they're not there. If the rock had all this free energy, it would be melting, right? Introducing energy to the system melts it, okay? In order for a crystal to form, it has to lose all energy. Sorry to bust your bubble. Now, I want to tell a couple of really quick stories about this. I am from northern New Mexico. I grew up around Taos. And Taos is a safe haven. It's a sanctuary for hippies. And a lot of hippie type of people believe in crystal energy healing and stuff. And I do want to say right now, if you believe in that kind of stuff, it's fine. I don't really have a problem with you. I'm a scientist, though. I'm going to tell you why it's wrong. And these stories are going to show some of the negative effects that this kind of thing can have. But, again, I don't think that you're horrible as a person if you believe that kind of stuff, right? Do what makes you happy, as long as you're not hurting anybody. My father is a large animal veterinarian. He's a mobile vet. And a lot of his clientele are in the Taos area. And my father has had several experiences where people have called him and said, hey, my alpaca is on death's doorstep. Hey, my horse is dying, this, that, and the other. And my dad will get there and he'll diagnose a problem and he'll say, how long has this animal been sick? If you noticed this a week ago, I could have got here and saved this animal's life, but right now it's too far gone. And something that a lot of people will tell my dad is that they noticed that their alpaca, their llama, whatever it is, was showing signs of being sick a week ago, and they tried to heal it with rock magic energy. I'm not kidding. These people, they'll rub. These people. I don't say that as a derogatory term. I kind of hope that comes across. It's just the way I talk. I refer to everyone as maybe I should stop doing that. Anyways, but they'll rub their rocks on the animal. They'll put a circle of rocks around the animal, burn sage and things for it like that. And something my dad's told me is he says, it's frustrating for me because as a doctor, I tell them, you need to call me as soon as you notice that your animal is sick. He says, sometimes I want to let them know that they should call my son, who's a geologist, so he can tell them rocks aren't going to fix your animal. So that's an example of this mindset causing harm. If you believe that these rocks have healing powers and that's your first resort rather than an actual doctor, you can cause more harm than good in the long run. And it's definitely something that my dad has had to fight with a lot. Funnier story. When I was a teenager, my cousin Austin and I were helping my dad help some people move. And the woman who was kind of the head of the household there, she was really big into the rock, crystal, energy, magic stuff. And so we're helping her pack up her stuff. Funny how when you go to move people, sometimes it's not just moving boxes. You're also like packing their stuff up for them. And I found her rock collection. And 16-year-old Gideon really enjoyed rocks too. And I was very curious about it. So I'm packing it up, being very careful. I'm looking at all the different rocks and stuff. And my cousin Austin's helping me. And I found this big, long, kind of cylindrical rock. And I'm about to put it in the box when the woman comes around the corner and she says, oh my goodness, you found one of my favorite ones. And she comes, or she said, you found my rock collection. She comes over and she starts telling us about all the healing properties of these rocks. And I'm sitting here holding this big oblong stone. And she says, oh, and that one right there is one of my favorites. See, I use this after my monthly cycles to cleanse my body and reintroduce a positive chakra into my life or something like that. And 16-year-old me thought, wait a second, does that mean what I think it means? She reaches to a bookshelf, pulls out this book and says, here, you should read this. I think you'll find it really, really interesting. It was a book on crystal healing. And yes, I found the chapter that talks about using these wands. You know what she was doing with that rock to realign her chakras. And I felt like I needed to cut my hands off and burn them. But
well, guys, another weekend and more gym shows. So I didn't record. Man, my mustache is... Anyways. So today is a Sunday. I didn't record anything yesterday, but Jagger and I, who you guys met in earlier, we went up to TRC to do the show up there. Went well. Holy cow, there's a lot of people there. I'm kind of losing my voice. I was, basically talking nonstop for 10 hours. Yeah, my voice is probably going to go out today. But anyways, I'm going up with my boss today. And so yesterday we took my truck with the collection. Today we're taking a business vehicle. And sometimes when I've done the Tier C show, I've camped up there. So I'll drive up on Saturday, do the show. I'll spend the night out in the mountains, and then I'll come back and finish the show Sunday. Couldn't do that this time around. So yeah, I'll try and get some more footage of the show and stuff today. But yeah, just busy. I'll tell you what, man. Yeah, these meteorite chunks, 700, 900. Yeah. Yep. Oh, these garnets are gorgeous. Yep, 120. Seems about right.
Oh, okay, because I was getting ready to say.
Can you imagine?
I was getting ready to say it was a poodle hopper. That's what we used to call them.
Yeah, no.
It's hiding over here. Y'all got something going on.
No.
Go back.
Yep, we can go back. I'm like, all right, let's check it out.
Oh my God. I heard about it. Yes, it does. You're right. Yes, it does. All right, this is this. I need to go.
Sort of. We're there for 4 days. The show's 4 days long.
Septarian nodule.
Yeah.
Got some fossils. Looks like some Orthoceras or Belemnites. Got some clams. This here, a little ammonite. Ammonite. Looks like we got an ammonite with some clams. Probably Cretaceous, looks like to me. Oh, clam. Tridactyl. Huh.
Can you see the tracks on that?
Yeah, I can see the tracks on that. That's very interesting.
Hold it over here, you can see it better maybe.
Yeah, let's see that.
You might have to hold it closer.
Those are really cool. Where'd you find this at? Where'd this come from?
It's my wife found it. That's her.
Yeah?
It was hers.
Yeah.
Found that.
Those kind of look like bird tracks.
Yep.
Very interesting. Very cool. You got some good stuff here.
Thank you.
You guys gonna be at the Dimming show?
Oh yeah.
Good deal. Probably see you there.
You're gonna be there too?
Probably. I'm with the Zool Museum. We have
That's right.
Yeah. I think we've talked a couple times. Yeah, for sure.
I can't remember. I remember.
You see so many people, like I can't keep track of everyone, you know.
Why not?
God, I wish I could. This is good stuff. This is all New Mexico petrified wood?
Yep.
Is
No,
this?
not all of it.
Not all of it? Oh,
No,
okay,
no.
I see. Yeah, we got some Blue Forest, Wyoming. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Is your
And this is Arizona.
Okay.
I think this might be Arizona too.
Right. Very cool. Where's your New Mexico wood from? Is this San Juan Basin?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah, it looks about like it.
That was Blue Forest.
Yeah, that's Blue Forest for sure. We recently had
This
someone.
This one's kind of cool because look, you can see the fibers. You can see them right into the black there along the back.
Oh yeah, that's very cool. Very
I
cool.
love that.
Yeah.
I sold the piece that I cut off of it. Was it?
Yeah.
And a little while ago.
Is this one palm?
I don't know.
It might.
You know what I'm really bad at? knowing the species.
Knowing the species. You know, I'm pretty bad at it too. But our museum specializes in petrified wood, so I'm getting, better at it.
Is there a book that you can get or something that will that will help identify the, when look, you know what I mean?
It's from New Mexico. This also looks like, yeah, this is also New Mexico. Got some cool stuff in there. Garnet, Grossler Garnet. This is a nice one. This is a nice one. Marcasite, yep. I actually think I had a guy that brought me something that might have been Marcasite earlier. Well, he didn't bring it to me. He brought me a picture of it, and I didn't think Marcasite until afterwards. Oh, wow. Oh, this is Lincoln, New Mexico. Oh, can't even see it on screen. Yeah, this is Lincoln County, New Mexico, Sierra Blanca. Remember when I made a video about that? That's smoky quartz. I've heard that this stuff is out there. You can't get it anymore. But man, that is gorgeous. Holy cow. Wow. Very cool. Very cool, very cool. Gorgeous, gorgeous stuff.
Barite, I call barite.
Yeah, look at that. Serpentine. Malachite. Yeah. Yep, Bingham fluorite. That's from the Oscuro Mountains here in New Mexico. Some good stuff. Some good stuff. Oh, is this feldspar? Yep, microcline feldspar. Those are gorgeous. Also microcline feldspar. Very cool. Fluorite, yep. This is from the Small Fry in Rio Arriba County. This is up near my hometown. I've been out to this site several times. Got some pretty good stuff. Ooh. Oh man, that is beautiful. Beautiful. Some meteorites. Okay. These I think are mixed meteorites. Yeah. Maybe. Cool. All right, story time. Filling you in on some of the stuff that I can't film on camera or just kind of choose not to. So I'm walking around taking a little bit of a break. I'm going to go get some churros here in a second. But I like talking to all the people at the shows. We see a lot of the same people at the different shows. You know, the rock hounding group, the mineral dealers. We're you know, kind of a small group. Kind of tight-knit, I guess. I see a lot of the same people. And so it's always good to go around and talk to folks and, you know, see how everyone's doing. I was talking to some guys just now, and they were really upset because they had this piece of museum quality smoky quartz from Lincoln County, New Mexico. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. They'd had to take $500 off the price because someone came by, picked it up, and dropped it upside down on the spikes. And me and the guy had to talk about how important it is to tell people, like, hey, these are rocks, but they can be delicate, they can be fragile, right? You got to be careful with them. And so that's something that I really try and do, especially since I'm not selling anything. I'm here for a museum, right? Even though my little tag here, I had a talk with a guy. I've got my museum tag, and then I've got my vendor tag. I'm not selling anything. I'm a vendor. I'm an education guy, not a vendor. But it's important to like educate people about, hey, here's how you handle it appropriately, right? You can't just walk in here and start throwing rocks around. You can't manhandle these things. You've got to be careful. You got to take a little bit of care and pride in what you're doing. But so I had a talk with him. There's a guy here that does meteorites. I talked to him quite a bit. I've got a meteorite at my booth, and I use it to educate with people. I talk to people about cosmic geology. Essentially, we talk about
planetary differentiation. We talk about the composition of the universe. We talk about how I can tell that the meteorite is from space and not Earth, things like that. And so I talked to the meteorite guy quite a bit. And meteorites are one of the things that people most ask me about. People bring me samples and say, hey, is this a meteorite? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. Funny story, long time ago, someone brought me something they thought was a meteorite. Turns out it was a cannonball from the Civil War. It was kind of smushed on one side and kind of rounded on the other side and stuff. Very cool, not a meteorite. And so even at these shows, people bring me stuff all the time. They ask, hey, is this a meteorite? What's this? What's that? And when it comes to meteorite stuff, I typically send people to this guy. He's a couple tables away from us right now. I just had to talk to him, ask him about, some of the people I sent to him. One guy came to me. He had this big chunk of black rock, and he was magnetic. He wanted to know if it was a meteorite. I thought it was magnetite. I said, I am 90% sure this is magnetite, but it did have a couple of weird spots on it that I was like, that might be. There's with meteorites where like kind of a thumbprint indentation. It's kind of a mark of some meteorites in some cases. Had kind of some of that. And I said, you know what? Go over to this guy, and he can, probably identify it for you. The meteorite guy agreed with me. It was magnetite, so point for me. And the other guy came to me, and he had a picture of stuff. And I get this a lot. People bring me pictures of things. Most of the time, I can't do a great diagnosis. I can't do a great identification from a picture, right? I need to hold the rock. I need to be able to feel how dense it is. I need to be able to feel how hard it is. I can scratch with my knife, maybe. I can look at it with a flashlight, look at it with my hand lens. There's a bunch of things I can do. Maybe take a streak if I need to. A picture is really, really hard to ID, but this guy had a bunch of stuff, and I said, I really don't think this is meteorites. He said it was these little spherical balls, and he said they were oxidized, they were fully metal, they're super heavy, but they weren't magnetic. I said, okay, well, that doesn't really sound like an iron nickel meteorite. And so I suggested that it could be mining slag, it could be marcasite, which is a type of pyrite that's not magnetic, and sent him to the meteorite guy. Said, if you really want to know, go ask him. Meteorite guy agreed with me again, so I guess I'm doing all right. But just good talking to people and stuff. And now I'm gonna go and get a bite to eat, and maybe here in a second I'll show you guys how to tell if something is a meteorite, or maybe I'll film me talking to a group of people about meteorites. So yeah, we'll see. Also, because I'm kind of different, right? I'm doing education, I'm not selling stuff. My approach to these rock shows and my approach to rocks in general is very different from some of these other guys. And so it's good to kind of, talk to these ladies and gentlemen about their experiences and how they approach things and their viewpoints on stuff. It's just really cool. When they're giving out the name tags, my boss got one that had her name on it. I got one when we came to the show last time. That was all professional. This time they gave me a Sharpie one, but I gotta wear it because you get discounts at the food trucks, which I'm gonna need. Churro acquired. Oh yeah. I was just talking to one of my friends who might be going on an adventure with me recently. She's another vendor in the area. She sells S-Wing stuff, so we're gonna see if we can get something going on.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking might happen.
It looks like kind of fun. What is fossil out? That's exclusive to Australia.
Yeah. How you doing?
Good, how are you doing?
Doing all right. These are so cool, man.
Oh, thanks, yeah.
Do you collect these ones?
Yeah, that
Absolutely.
was a lot of fun. We found this zone 2 summers ago on a hillside. There was a controlled burn in the area a couple years prior, and it just this one hill we found had quartz all over the surface, and we initially found a tree stump that had just crystal plates sticking out of the base of it.
All right.
We dug under it and got into a decent pocket.
Yeah.
And then just opened up probably a dozen pockets on this hillside.
Fantastic.
But yeah.
And this barite here, this is some of the best I think it's some of the best barite around. There's a lot of barite here today.
Yeah, yeah.
This is good. This is good.
So one of my other favorites we were just talking about.
Yeah,
this,
for sure.
This is a barite that's from out in Grand Junction, Colorado.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. I would have thought that was quartz just from looking at
Yeah,
it.
we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
So this one is a 4-sided crystal.
Uh-huh.
And you just showed me the quartz that has 6 sides.
Yeah, the yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if I just seen it laying down and then I picked it up, and yeah, you see the 4 sides
And
for
this
sure.
one's cool. It's got the phantom in it.
Wow.
And there's a brown inclusion that's UV reactive. I'm not sure if it'll pick up, but
Maybe a little bit, yeah. Very cool, man.
Those have 2 stories though, because look at this one side, and then that one has
Oh
crystals in there.
wow,
This whole different side.
that is gorgeous. Holy cow.
This one's amazing. Look at that, and then turn it over. Oh, you can't. Okay.
I've got churros.
So this
Yeah.
or that.
Wow. Wow. You know, that Jimmy Epidote is crazy. That's fantastic.
yeah, super nice.
Good stuff.
This is one of the more classic, like the forest epidote they've been.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
I really like it.
You guys doing better at this show than you were in Las Cruces?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been
Yesterday was
hearing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today's been a little bit more chill, but like after yesterday, like.
Yeah, you already made up for it yesterday. Yeah, I expect you'll probably pick up here after maybe in the afternoon a little bit, have a rush, and then we'll see. But yeah, I think a couple years from now, this show is going to be a big deal.
Yeah,
It's going to be a good one.
I'm going to do my best to get back into it next year.
You guys want to see something really cool? I'm probably going to put this in the rock show video that I'm kind of putting together. Putting together this video has been interesting. I'm very curious to see how this turns out because I haven't been doing as much filming as I thought I would because I'm at work when I'm doing this, right? So, it's kind of awkward and cringe to film things when you're working. So, that is how I feel about that. But anyways, this is really cool. This came in the mail today. The flashlight. Not just any flashlight. This is a UV light. I had one of these. Dropped it down a mine shaft about a year ago, and I've just been really slow getting a replacement for some reason. Sometimes I do that. I'm just slow on some things. But anyways, I met this really, really cool vendor at a show that I was doing. This was 2 weeks ago, and her name's Sara. I'm probably going to get her on camera here at some point eventually. She's an S-Wing dealer and stuff like that. She does a lot of tools. And anyways, she hooked me up with this sweet UV light, and it got here today, and I want to show you something. So you might be wondering why I'm so excited to have this UV light and why someone is selling UV lights at a rock shop. Actually, you might not be wondering that because you might actually know, but it's because certain minerals are fluorescent. And so in the box, I actually sent a couple of minerals here. And basically, fluorescent just means that when I shine a UV light onto this crystal, it's going to absorb some of that energy and then re-emit that energy with a different wavelength. So it's going to look a different color. So for example, here's this calcite. And you can see that it's pink now. Isn't that cool? And it actually looks way, way brighter in person than it does on camera. See if I can get a better surface on there. Also, it's not completely dark in here, so that might be. You also see some green spots. It could be another mineral, or it could just be because calcite can also fluoresce green. Also, if my voice sounds a little bit different, it's because I lost my voice doing the shows. And so here we've got looks like a little bit of gypsum, maybe. But what we're interested in actually is back here. This black stuff is galena, and actually we're gonna bring. Here's my dinosaur stuff. This is a piece of galena that I always have on my desk. This is galena with, focus up, fluorite. Anyways, the galena is kind of what we're interested in. See that yellow all of a sudden? No yellow? Yellow. So it's actually not the galena that's fluorescing, but if we look over here at my piece, we can see that there's that yellow fluorescence again. That's not galena. This is cerussite, which is a lead carbonate. Galena, of course, is lead sulfide, so they often occur together. So yeah, isn't that cool? Now I need to go and just look through a bunch of my different rocks and see
everything I have that is fluorescent. Although, real quick, it just occurred to me, I think I called this, did I say gypsum for this stuff right here? I honestly can't remember what I said, but that's barite. I'll have to go back and read the video. I think I said selenite. I think I called this selenite, and it's barite. Anyways, you know, I did a big dumb. All right, so here's a bunch of fluorite that I've been cleaning up. Oh, man. Oh, man. Even the caliche that's still on some of these pieces is glowing green, and caliche is a calcium carbonate. Got a couple of... let's see, what else do we have here? This... Oh, wow. This is petrified wood right here. This is some kind of big chunk of not quite agate, just nasty chalcedony, basically. And then this is a little piece of very low quality cut agate. See anything cool in here? Yeah. Okay. I want to go find some of my calcite. Oh man, I was hoping I'd find a piece like this. Okay, so this is a chunk of fluorite, barite, and calcite. Look at this. All right, so we shine it on here. You see all the green stuff there. Then we're going to turn the light off. Let's sit it on there a little bit more. And it keeps glowing for a while. Oh man. Alrighty, here are some bags of minerals, and I know it's dark. I'm keeping it dark on purpose. Look at that. Look, holy cow, that calcite is really, really glowing good. Yeah, so we got some fluorite and calcite in here. You can see that yellow. Man, isn't that just crazy? Camera's having a hard time focusing on it. Let me see if I can fix that. Oh, we got a little bit of red in there too. Awesome, and it is windy outside. This stuff here, this is fossils. Oh yeah, we got some. Okay, yeah. So these fossils, some of them are replaced with calcite, of course. Got some good glowers in there. And here, got a couple of things. This is mostly quartz and chalcedony. Yeah, there's some good glowers. Ooh, that looks pretty. And that's a big old brachiopod right there. Actually, I want to dig that out. All right, so here's our little brachiopod fossil in the light. You can see that. And the stuff on him is all that caliche, of course. Take him back over here into the shadow realm. Man, that's cool. Oh, that's beautiful. Here we got some pieces of fluorite. Let's go ahead and drag these back over into the sunlight. It is really, really windy, and it's like dusty outside, and also it's after work, so it's kind of gross. So this little piece here, some pretty, non-spectacular fluorite, kind of a little bit. We're just looking through kind of my trash pieces right now. Here's this piece is a little bit better. We got fluorite and barite in here, and some of that fluorite has got a little bit of a purple tint to it, but most of the stuff on here is clear. Well, let's see what the UV light has to say about these two specimens. Yep. Glowing purple. We got a little bit of green on there. Oh, man. Man, that is cool. That is really, really cool. And actually, you might be able to tell right here. So if I shine the UV light like this, it seems a little bit brighter, and I go over here, just because more of that light is being absorbed. Isn't that neat? Okay, wow, we got some cool stuff in here. Got some oranges, some reds, some good greens. what do I have this bag labeled as? Let's take a little look. This is, get out in the light again. Mineral bits, fluorite, fluorite, garnet, barite, calcite, feldspar, quartz, any other random pocket dust I decide to throw in here. Okay. Don't you just love my labeling system? Isn't that just spectacular? Ooh, I'm really excited about this one. This is a bunch of calcite. You can see here. Camera. See here we got some nice calcite crystals here in this kind of layered concentric rings. Let's see. This is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the night. Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Man, that's cool. Yeah, we got all kinds of cool stuff I'm going to have to go through. Man, that stuff's really just popping. Man, that's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So a lot of agates from southern New Mexico are actually fluorescent. And this is a piece of agate that I found I want to take a look at real quick. Look at this beautiful, beautiful quartz crystal, though. What the heck? Focus up, camera. Isn't that great? I found that a couple months ago. I'll take you away. All right, so here's the agate, which is basically banded microcrystalline quartz. So let's set it right there. Yep. Green. Look at that. Yeah. Oh, man. And actually, oh, look, you can actually see it's green. A lot of it is green. Oh, and there's a big something orange. Yeah. And you know what? Ooh, 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 ooh. I promise I'll finish this thought eventually. Yeah. I'm going to come back and do this again when it's dark. Remember my video that I made, the nut and the needle? Hopefully you guys watched that one, a Gideon Stuff Adventure video, where Janelle and I went to the Little Florida Mountains and we're looking for agates. That's where that came from. And she found this huge agate. Well, I still have pieces of it outside. Okay, we gotta go look. So in case you guys are wanting a follow-up on that agate from that video, these are the pieces of it. Why has Janelle not come and claimed her pieces yet? I don't know. But here they are. I really wish we would have cut this thing with the saw instead of just splitting it out there in the field like we did, but we wouldn't be able to get it out otherwise. We're gonna take a couple chunks of this. Maybe we'll take this chunk. We've also got some really nice, look at those nice quartz crystals in there. Yeah, we'll take a couple of these pieces and we'll see what they can do. I want to find one that has a really, really unique pattern and texture. This one. Yep. Look at that. We got some purples. Really, really dark concentrated green right in there. Some blues almost. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's good. Okay, I promised I'd talk to you guys about meteorites. Have not had the opportunity to film any meteorite stuff at any of the shows, talking to people, so we're just going to do this right here. I love taking the meteorite to these shows, and I love playing games with people with this. So we have this sitting out on a little mat on our table with a sign that says, "What am I?" And there's a magnifying glass lying nearby. And so people can come up, they can pick up the meteorite, they can look at it with a magnifying glass, and I can give them some hints. And so people are trying to guess what it is. And one of the things I tell people is, well, the first question you need to ask yourself is, what is it made out of? And that's the hint that I always give. It's magnetic. And I ask people, okay, there's 3 naturally magnetic metals. Do you know what they are? Most people guess iron, which is right. The one that no one ever knows is cobalt and nickel.
Those are the 3 naturally occurring magnetic metals. This is made out of iron and nickel. It's an iron nickel meteorite. Meteorites come in 3 different varieties: iron, nickel, stony, and mixed. And I'm pretty sure you can put together what those different kinds are. And there's a couple different ways you can identify a meteorite. So iron nickel, we're going to stay with iron nickel because that's what I've got right here. One thing that people like to use is sometimes these dimple patterns here, like these little thumbprint patterns. People like to use those, and you can use that to give yourself a little bit of an idea. You know, a magnetic rock that has those little dimples in it. Okay, you know, you should probably start thinking maybe it's a meteorite. But I have also seen mining slag and sometimes hematite can grow in these kind of patterns, and so it can't always be the most 100% accurate diagnostic characteristic. Another thing is the weight. These are very, very heavy, very dense. But there's a lot of things that can be very, very heavy, right? So unless you have like a really good sense for, oh, this is, you know, even heavier than it should be, don't go off of weight alone. One of the things I like to play a game with people. They pick up the meteorite and they're always like, oh my goodness, that's so much more heavy than I expected. And yeah, it is. This thing is a chunk. This is about 8.6 pounds, which for an object of this size is a lot. But one of the games I've started playing at these shows, my favorite game now, is I ask people when they pick it up, I say, how much do you think that weighs? And most of the time people guess between 15 and 30 pounds, which makes me laugh. There was one dude who came up to the desk, big, strong guy. He walks in, grabs a meteorite, he goes, yeah, that's 50 pounds right there, boy. A couple people guessed like 100 pounds, which is wild. You know, people thinking they're walking around just grabbing 100-pound objects in one hand. You know, all right, whatever, buddy. But it is very, very heavy. I do like playing that game with people, though. The best way to identify an iron nickel meteorite is actually right here. Maybe the light's making it worse. So this little area here, this shiny area, this has been basically someone took a grinder. You take a grinder, you grind that off, and you see if you can expose this type of pattern called a Wittgenstein pattern. And actually, we're going to turn the camera around so you can get a better look at that. All right, here you go. So again, you grind off a little bit, put some acid on there, ferric acid, chloric acid, nitric acid, something like that, just to bring out the pattern a little bit, make it more visible. You can see this kind of cross hatching. They kind of look like scratches almost. That's a specialized type of iron nickel crystallization that occurs in the vacuum of space. Crystallization is the process of a liquid going to solid, right? Water to ice, lava to rock. That's crystallization. And so this started off as a molten blob, right? This was a molten blob of iron and nickel that was probably the core of a planet or planetoid. Well, I'll get to that here in a little bit. But it cooled in the vacuum of space, and it cooled very, very slowly. And because of that, I mean, large crystals are very rare in metals. You don't see that very often, especially on Earth. But because space is just a weird environment, you can grow these very big crystal patterns. And these are technically different layers of an iron nickel alloy, camosite and tannite, which I think tannite can be up to like 70% nickel, if I'm remembering right. But yeah, so very, very cool. Space is weird and weird things happen, but that's the number one way that if someone brings me a meteorite, this is the number one thing I like to do is I'll tell them either, hey, grind off a little bit and let's see what we got. I'll grind off a little bit maybe and see if we can expose this pattern, because people bring me meteorites all the time, and 9 times out of 10, it's not a meteorite. Very rarely are you going to see a meteorite this big. This is a huge chunk. We actually have no idea where this came from. This was donated. Someone found it in like their grandma's garage after she passed, and they didn't know where it came from. They brought it to us like, hey, I think this might be a meteorite. And it's like, oh, snap, that is a meteorite. Holy crap. But we have no provenance on it, which kind of sucks. But if we want to do a little bit of work, we could actually cut this open
And no two meteorites have the same Widmanstätten pattern or Thomson structure. I'm not sure if I said they can also be called Thomson structures. They can be. But they're kind of like fingerprints for meteorites. And so if we were to cut this open and document the Widmanstätten pattern on the inside and compare it against a database of all other meteorites that have ever been found, we might find a match, we might not. This is a pretty huge chunk of a meteorite, but yeah, it is great for educational purposes, especially if we're talking about planetary differentiation and stuff. And I want to talk about that real quick. So planets and actually solar systems in general form from basically accretions of cosmic trash. You start getting a bunch of particles together, they start accumulating, you form a protoplanetary disk, which is basically just a loose assemblage of raw materials kind of swirling around each other. And then things start to coalesce, you start to build up gravity, you start to, gain gravitational significance, and you build yourself a planet. But during this process, the planet or planetoid goes through what's called planetary differentiation. And this is a process where all of the materials making up this planet separate themselves based on composition and density. And so typically when we're talking about Earth material compositions, geologists like to think about the Goldschmidt classification scheme, which takes all of the elements on the periodic table and breaks them up into 4 different groups: siderophiles, chalcophiles, lithophiles, and atmophiles. Atmophiles are basically gases, and they're things that make up atmospheres. Siderophiles are things like iron. I mean, siderite is, an iron. Or sider comes from, I can't remember if it's Latin or Greek for iron, but siderites or siderophile elements are elements that basically like iron. They're similar to iron. And so these are very, very heavy elements. These include iron, nickel, iridium, platinum, gold, osmium, all your platinum group metals, really exotic stuff, right? And all these super heavy metals concentrate themselves in the core, right? They sink to the core. And of course, if you've ever seen a cross-section of our planet, you'll know that we have our crust, mantle, then we have an outer core, inner core. The crust and the mantle are basically mostly made up of silicates, silica and aluminum. But our core is very concentrated in iron and nickel and iridium and all the other stuff I mentioned. And that's exactly what the composition of this meteorite is here. Zap this with a ICP-MS machine. You try and get some data on what it's made out of. And this is like 93 to 95% iron, about 4 to 5% nickel, and the rest of it is all those really crazy exotic metals. And that's how we know that this used to be the core of some kind of planetoid, because this has the same chemical composition as our core, which is pretty awesome. And I always tell kids that. I always tell them when they pick up the meteorite, I say, hey, you're holding the core of a planet. How's that feel? I think it's pretty freaking cool, personally. I guess the other thing is, why do so many people ask me about meteorites all the time? Well, they're very, very sought after. When people find something they think might be a meteorite, they really get excited and want to know if it's a meteorite for sure. Number one, meteorites are just cool, right? It's nice to have a piece of a space rock or, part of a destroyed planet or asteroid. You can think of it as that way, which is pretty awesome. The other thing, too, is they can be valuable. This meteorite right here, the last time we had it valued was between $4,000 and $5,000, which, that's a lot. That'd be nice to have, right? Who doesn't want a rock that's worth a couple of G's? But actually, interestingly enough, this is not the most valuable piece that we have out on our display set. I'm going to show you what one is. I'm going to show you which one is the most valuable. That's the best way to say that. It's this right here. This is a rhodochrosite stalactite or stalagmite. I'm not sure what it is. If you look at it like this, it does kind of look like, I don't know, a phallus with gigantism or something. Anyways, rhodochrosite, especially of this high quality, is becoming very hard to get a hold of. And I always knew that this was very, very valuable. You can see this one, by the way, rhodochrosite is a manganese carbonate. You can see it's cut open here and polished. It's gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. I always knew this was a very valuable piece, very sought after. Most of the shows that I've worked, we are the only people that have something like this on the table. And people have offered me lots and lots of money for me to just, under the table, give it to them out from under the museum, which obviously I'm not going to do. One guy offered me 10 grand. And he was 100. At first I couldn't tell if he was serious or not. He came up to me. He came to my table like 3 or 4 times during this one show. And the first time he came up, he said, "Hey, anything for sale?" I said, "No, we're education only." He came up again. He's like, "That rhodochrosite is really, really nice." Asked me for some details on it. I gave him that, all the details and stuff. He comes back and he says, "I know you're not selling stuff, but I'll give you a little money if you just want to, hand it over to me and, report it as lost." And I kind of laughed at it. I was like, ha, 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 whatever. That's funny. People make that joke all the time. He comes back later that day. He says, "I'll give you $10,000. And I was like, "What?" And he was another vendor. I said, "No. It's ridiculous, right?" Well, at a show about a week ago, at this point, everything's becoming a blur to me now. Me and this other dealer got to talking, and of course, these mineral dealers know more about the price of these things than I do, right? I know the science and stuff. I'm not all that into the economy of it. But we sat down and we calculated the weight on this. We calculated what the, going price per gram, per ounce for rhodochrosite is. And we calculated this as being about $25,000 to $30,000, which is completely blew my mind. I thought that had to be wrong at first, but he kept saying, he's like, "No, that's about what it is." So number one, that guy that tried to buy this from me about a year ago was way, way lowballing me. But yeah, pretty wild. Oh, and by the way, the gentleman who was talking to me about the rhodochrosite, he's a dealer and a rockhound here in New Mexico, and he actually donated some stuff to the museum, including this that kind of looks unremarkable until you turn it over. This is a septarian nodule from New Mexico. These are septarian nodules, I believe, are the state rock of Utah. They're kind of cool. They're basically when you have fractures, and they form when you have fractures in limestone, and then water gets in there, starts to dissolve all the calcite, and then reprecipitates it into those cracks, forming basically these calcite geodes within limestone. They're very cool. I've got a couple that I found. Obviously those are some really pretty ones. He also has pink ones from a secret spot in northern New Mexico, which is pretty awesome, but I guess shout out to him. Alrighty, so leaving the museum right now, heading to Dimming to set up a display. We don't actually do a full-on booth at Dimming like we do at the other places. Here's what I'm taking today. I don't really know what's in that box. My boss put together that box. We don't have the manpower to do the Dimming show. It's a 4-day show. So today's Wednesday, the show starts tomorrow. And we're also doing our own museum events this weekend. So we don't have the resources to run a booth for 4 days at the show. So what we do instead is we set up a display. And so I'm going to Dimming right now to set up this display. We'll see how it turns out. And then I'll be in and out of the Dimming show on a couple of the days of the show, at least, probably Sunday for sure. And I'm actually also going to be meeting up with Sara, another one of she's the S-Wing dealer that I've been talking about. Help her set up. And yeah, this should be fun. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hit the road. Alrighty, so here we are. I love driving. I just got to say that right now. A lot of people think I'm a weirdo, but I love driving. There is nothing more calming to me than getting in my truck and just hitting the road. I love seeing new places. Driving is just, I don't know, very relaxing for me. I like to put on some music or a podcast. I listen to a lot of science podcasts. Recently, I've been really into embryology and the biology of sex and gender and things like that. So I've been listening to a lot of science podcasts. And yeah, it's good. It's good driving. anyways, here we are in Dimming. I got to run in and find out where the heck I need to set up our stuff at. I love Dimming too. Dimming's a cool area. Definitely a huge rock hounding area. This show, I've heard some people call it the Little Tucson. If you guys know about the Tucson Gem Mineral Show, it's the largest in the world. This show, especially in its heyday here in Dimming, had a reputation for being just absolutely fantastic. I haven't been to this show in a while. This year it's supposed to be a real big shindig because it's their 60th anniversary. So, you know, things should be fun. They call it the Rockhound Roundup. Great name. But yeah, we'll run in. Actually, funny, speaking of Dimming, again, I enjoy Dimming. I think Dimming's all right. But I talked to a guy at the TRC show who was, he called it the worst place on earth. And he was complaining about how, I guess, the bank stole $300,000 from him. And the police wouldn't do anything about it because the chief of police was in the pocket of the cartels. And now he's moved to TRC where he's the head police chief there. And this guy's worried about it. And could be the ramblings of a crazy person. But this is New Mexico. So, you know, crazier things have happened in this state. I don't know why I went off in that tangent, but let's go in and find out where I'm going to be. Alrighty, mission accomplished. I know where we're setting up at, so let's get stuff out of the truck. Maybe I ought to move a little closer. I don't know. It's one box. I'm a strong boy. So, let's get to it. We're at the fairgrounds, by the way. Right back there, that's Cook's Peak. Have you seen my video about climbing that mountain yet? You should watch it. It's a good one. All right, so here's some of the stuff we're working with. I have not organized it yet, but we got some cool stuff here. There's a condor agate, Mexico probably. There's a massive agate with this big amethyst geode. Looks like a South America, probably Brazil to me. This here, I bet, is Araucaria wood from Arizona. Oh, actually, it's got a label on the back. Well, it doesn't have anything on there about that. Here's some azurite with malachite. Pretty cool. This is dolomite with cobalt. That's what turns it pink. Right here we've got a big old garnet and some mica schist. This here's petrified wood. Looks like it's from the West Coast to me. Probably some kind of, I don't know. It's a deciduous tree for sure. Here's palm, probably Louisiana or Texas. This here's a piece of wood with halite crystals inside. That's all the little squares. That one also looks like a West Coast to me, Oregon or Washington, something like that. Yeah. So let's go ahead and start organizing this. Oh, and we have some spheres, which I think all of these are petrified wood. Actually, that one might be dinosaur bone, but these ones are definitely petrified wood. So let's organize them, and then I'll pick out the labels. Like putting together these little stands. Should work. I think I'm going to do petrified wood on the top, like the slabs, and then I think we're going to do the logs with the agate. They love agate here in Dimming, so we're going to have that one front and center. So this is our palm. It's going to go up here. This stuff. That's kind of cool, huh? That's a silica carbide. This is carborundum. Anyways, it's a man-made mineral, so not super interesting to me, but we'll put it right there. Alrighty, so here's what we got. Angiosperm sphere. I was actually right. This is dinosaur bone. Just petrified wood sphere, some red oak, azurite. There's that carborundum, the cobation dolomite, the garnet, agate geode from Brazil. I was right. Argentina, Araucaria from Arizona. That's the same stuff that's at the petrified forest. Some angiosperm, a sequoia, pepper tree, sycamore. There in the back, we got black ash. I was right about these being from the West Coast. Conifer, Arizona. That's probably Araucaria. Louisiana palm. There's that unknown angiosperm with halite crystals. Angiosperm is just the name for flowering plants. Non-flowering plants, such as conifers, are gymnosperms. And we got a sycamore back there. All in all, not too shabby. Some of these artisans absolutely blow me away. Look at those bolo ties. And look at that agate knife. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. I'm not really into jewelry, but I can definitely appreciate the craftsmanship for sure. There's our stuff. Lepidolite. Lepidolite is becoming excuse me, kind of important mineral. It's a source of lithium. It often occurs with spodumene. Lithium is a very, very sought after rare earth element. And you guys know what's going on with rare earth elements these days. Everybody wants them. Petrified wood with garnets? What? That's got to be like secondary Grosler garnets or something. That is crazy. Who has this booth? I'm not sure, but I want to ask them about that petrified wood with garnets. Agates and thunder eggs from Australia. That looks like a septarian nodule almost, but it's not. Huh. Very cool. Wow. That's crazy. These ones right here, that's what I like. And that too. Cool stuff, cool stuff. And now I'm helping Sara with her stuff. It's about the biggest rock pick I've ever seen. This is definitely the biggest show that we've been to in the past couple of weeks. Oh look, there's a mantle xenolith. That's probably Arizona. Got stuff in that building and that building. Huh.
Do you have a license to film here, sir?
Do I have a license to film here? You know what? I might have to ask. I wonder how everyone did here with the wind the other day. I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
Because, like, I was going to come up Thursday and help Sara, but the wind was so bad I was like, nah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that little buffalo. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Some kind of road-killed lizard, but it's awesome and I love it.
I think it's either a frilled lizard or a horny toad.
He's cute, whatever he is.
He's very cute.
Yeah, this is something else. And of course, it's the last day and it's like 30 minutes before closing, so it's kind of dead right now. But oh, look, mantle xenoliths, and it's some of the carborundum.
Oh, the man-made.
Yeah, the man-made stuff.
I want to know the story behind that. Like, what is it?
It's a carbon silicate, I think. I can't remember what it is. I think it was made, like, people were trying to make abrasives for industry, and they came up with this, and it's just kind of an oddity now. I'm not sure, though. I'll have to look it up.
This is beautiful. I wonder how much this would cost.
Isn't that gorgeous? This stuff to me looks like it's Arizona instead of Kilburn Hole. Actually, a couple of these pieces could be Kilburn Hole, I guess.
You're not supposed to take stuff out of Kilburn.
You're not supposed to, but it could be that was collected a long time ago.
I wonder how much this is. That's awesome.
Oh, I love this kind of fluorite. I've got some fluorite like this smaller block where it's like all the cubes growing on top of each other. Ooh. And they've got like this like kind of dusty oxidation or some kind of accretion going on top of them. It's pretty cool. Yeah, those are gorgeous. Septarian nodules. Did I tell you about the guy that donated the Septarian nodule to the museum? At the Tier C show, the last day, a guy donated a couple Septarian nodules, or I guess one that was cut in half, to the museum. And he wants Tiffany to buy a couple of big ones from him. They're from New Mexico. These ones might be Utah. But he has pink ones. Most of them are orange like this, but he has pink ones from northern New Mexico that are just gorgeous.
These look like they might be toxic.
Yeah, it kind of looks like arsenopyrite. Like kind of looks like not arsenopyrite. Yeah, realgar. I'm tired. My brain no worky. Oh, this stuff is so cool.
Bismuth.
Woo. And citrine. We're good. How are you? Is the peridotite, the xenoliths there on the table, where are those from? On the end of the table right here, the peridotite, the olivine, peridot, and the basalt.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
San Carlos.
San Carlos? Okay. Okay, I kind of thought so. Cool, cool. Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. The Meteorites.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually really like the amethyst butterfly.
Very cool. Sodalite? Lapis? Cool, cool.
I want one of those peridiotites, but I'm afraid of how much it would cost.
Oh, this is gorgeous. This is the kind of stuff where I look at this and I'm like, this, like, I want to make like a Western painting. You've already got like the red mesas here. You've got like this blue sky. You could put some cows out here, a little windmill.
Oh, so you like paint on the rock?
Yeah, paint on the rock.
That's a really cool idea.
Right?
These are like perfect for that.
Gila River jaspers, yep.
Beers, mountain jasper. Big Diggins agate.
Yeah, this is a really good spot out there. This is, yeah. This is where the club did one of their field trips this weekend. Oh wow, a whole bucket of crinoids and some plesiopods. Little clam.
It's all wet now.
Oh no, my hand's wet. Handful claw grab.
You can fill a chest.
Ooh.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, here's some sodalite. Not like the lapis on the other table.
Coprolites too. Oh, it's called it corporalite.
Corporalites. Well, I mean, spelling's not my forte either. I'll give them
I
a
didn't know how to
break.
spell Caitlin.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those are cool. Some little agates.
Ooh, these are nice.
Very cool, very cool. How you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Pretty good. Glad it's the last day?
Yep.
Did the wind hit you bad?
Yeah, it was pretty bad Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, I heard you guys closed early.
Yeah. No fun.
We helped one of our buddies set up in the building, and
Yes, sir.
we're gonna come up Thursday, and we're from Las Cruces, and no, saw the wind coming up. I was like, nah, not gonna hit the interstate in that.
No, I don't blame you.
I know. Did you do all right at this show?
Yeah, we did all right.
Good.
Missed 8 hours total, between the winds, but
Yeah.
overall, yeah, we did good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, those are kind of cool.
This is perfectly round.
Do you remember that guy that brought us the dinosaur eggs to the museum?
Yes.
I saw him at the TRC show.
Really?
Yeah. He did not come say hi.
No.
No. Thank goodness, because him and I probably would have come to blows.
That has another thing. Oh, this is all petrified wood. I think.
Not all of it, but that's petrified wood. Some petrified wood. A lot of it is. I don't think this is. No, this is agate. There's a big old geode. Huh. This is about the coolest knife I've ever seen, and you made this.
Yeah, that's out of Big Diggins.
Yeah, that looked like Big Diggins. How long did that take you?
Actually, I worked about an hour, 2 or 3 times a week, so I'd say about 3 months.
Yeah?
You get tired of working on the same project. So
Absolutely.
I usually have 4 or 5 going.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Oh, wow.
Right here in my hand.
Wow. Is that some banded iron?
No, that's...
We're coming to Wisconsin. Yes, you're coming to Wisconsin.
Those look like tiger's eye.
Tiger's eye, yeah.
Yeah, tiger's eye.
I was just thinking it looked like so we got some of that banded iron that's tiger's eye, pyrite, all of that. Very cool. You have some beautiful stuff here.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was an honor to be displayed next to you. We definitely had some competition.
Right. They asked me if I had anything for sale, and I said, my house burnt down, and this is all left, because I happen to have it at my daughter's. So.
Right.
Now this here is it's a type of citron, but it's extremely rare.
Yeah, okay.
Because they looked it up. And they said that it's very rare to get that.
Interesting. Do you know where this comes from?
They said South America.
Yeah, okay.
And that's
Malachite? Yeah.
Out of Alaska, or the Yukon.
Very cool. Do you do all the metal work for the chains yourself too?
Not the chains, but I do all of the...
You do all the cutting and stuff.
This is glass.
You know, that is beautiful.
This is a bracelet made with pins and all the buttons.
That is very cool. Wow.
We had a lady that came to one of our meetings, and she brought a mess of them with us so we could do them. These are inlaid. These are what my husband made.
Okay. Nice little wood.
Yeah.
Very cool. Oh, and it's opposites.
Yeah.
You got the... Oh, wow. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Okay, so now for the part of the video that you've all been waiting for, the part that I've been the most excited about, the interviews. 3 wonderful people. Sara, Phil, and Paul agreed to sit down with me and let me pick their heads a little bit. And they had some really cool stuff to say. And so I'm going to shut my mouth and let you guys hear it straight from them. I'm going to send this link to all of them. Sara, Phil, Paul, if you're watching this right now, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You guys are the best. Alrighty, I'm here with 3 wonderful people that I met doing these gym shows the last couple of weeks. Sara I met in Las Cruces, and actually if you guys could just introduce yourselves just briefly, go for it. We'll start here with Sara.
Hi, I'm Sara, as he has mentioned.
I already did the introduction.
Yeah. My business is Stardust Specimens and Supplies. My primary thing that I do is supply tools, equipment, and some interesting and unusual materials for artisans, especially the lapidary artists out there. And Gideon was set up in the booth next to us, educating people with the Zool collection.
That's what I do.
Yeah, it had some really, really cool stuff.
Hi, I'm Philip Swambury. I am a different kind of, from a different sort of life. I'm a circus performer who really enjoys rock hounding. And I have reached my maximum capacity of rocks many times and had to sell them before, which is why I've met some of the present company and some of the people who have linked me to some of the present company, because I have been in some rock shows because of my geology addiction and rock hounding habit.
It's a great addiction to have.
Yeah.
It's the best one.
My name is Paul. I'm a rock hound. I do a lot of hunting. I only try to sell enough to cover my gas for the next trips. I have 5 acres of land over by Tucson, so I have plenty of room to store many more trips.
That's important.
That's the big
I got a 40-foot shipping container.
So right there, like, this is a pretty diverse group of people, but we're all kind of the same thing, rocks, right? There's the whole reason we met. I'm coming at this from a really different point of view. Like, when I go to the gym shows, I'm representing the museum, I'm there for education only, I'm not selling things. For Sara, this is your livelihood, like, this is what you do. And so at these shows you meet artisans, hobbyists, outdoor enthusiasts, the people that are interested in science. There's all kinds of people at these shows. And so the question I have for all of you guys is, why are you interested in rock hounding?
Man, that my first response to that is, what's wrong with you if you're not?
That's the right answer. That's the correct answer.
Honestly, like, rocks are so cool, and I don't think I've ever met someone under the age of like 8 that wasn't obsessed with rocks. And my theory is that the people who are not into rocks now, wherever they are in their life, it's because somebody else influenced them and like shut down their fun. Or maybe they had a bad experience or something like that, and that love wasn't nurtured. And so I think it's sort of a natural part of humans to be interested in the world around us. And whether you're like totally obsessed with rocks or you just think they're kind of neat, I think it's kind of just part of the existing as a person.
That's a fantastic answer. You want to have anything to add?
I have a great answer for it.
Go for it.
Hey, you people on the other side who are watching this video, see how just like a few minutes ago you were doing this, and then you came upon this video. And when you came upon this video, it gave you a little spark, a little feeling, a little bit of dopamine drop. Well, when I go out to the field, instead of doing this and looking for a dopamine drop on here, I'm doing this and looking for a dopamine drop right there. So it's just the same thing that you're doing. That's why I'm into rock hounding.
I'm going to put something really sparkly in the thumbnail.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed Mother Nature. Okay, you know, and when you
thought it was me at first. Same ringtone.
We can cut that part out.
when you're a rock hound, you go out in the middle of nowhere, and the peace and quiet, and when you have been to a rock show or a museum and you see the beauty that Mother Nature makes, that we can recover and polish or just recover and clean and put out. Mother Nature's beautiful. There's so many variations of minerals and agates and crystals that people love across the world.
Yeah.
And that's part of our
Russian and martial law.
That's just beautiful. You know, camping out in the middle of nowhere, you don't see one artificial light. The stars at night, you realize how insignificant we are when you look up. You know, the peace and quiet of it. And a lot of times you go out with other people and you have a good time visiting.
Yeah. Those were 3 of the greatest answers I could have possibly gotten. That was beautiful. The other thing I want to highlight is, like, everyone sitting here is from all over the place. Like, I know you've been all over the world. I'm from here in New Mexico, so I'm the one that's most closely tied here. And you're from Minnesota?
Born and raised in Minnesota, and I enjoy it down so much I bought a snowbird now, my 7th winter being down, because when you go rock hunting, you don't need a hunting license.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And there's no season on them.
And that's fantastic too. But the thing is, it's like the other thing with the shows is you meet people from all over the world. I mean, here in Little Deming, New Mexico, we have people exhibiting from all over the place. It's a huge commitment, and a lot of that is travel. And so I know you've been traveling a lot. I was talking to a guy at the show, or at the TRC show, who said he's only been home 10 days this year. Like, people, they go on the road. This is kind of a crazy lifestyle to choose. So why? Why do this?
Because we're crazy. I mean, that's really the short answer. And, like, who wants to be normal anyway? But you're not wrong. When I first dove into this, I'm a pretty new vendor. I've done this for less than a year. I did like 3 shows. Because I started in South Carolina, but my first show was in Denver because of many reasons, and that's a longer story we won't get into. But I decided if I was going to do a show in Denver, I needed to get into 3 of them in the same kind of little circuit and go out there and give it a whirl. And I did. So I loaded up my whole life and drove, my whole Rocks life, and drove 28 hours to go do my first Gem and Mineral show with a friend who was also local to Denver, doing his first Gem and Mineral show. And we had a blast. It was a lot of work and learned lots of lessons. It was great. So I did those first 3, and then decided I wanted to go full time on the road, and decided I wanted to be based out of Denver. So I went home, kind of settled things in South Carolina, pulled up stakes, moved myself and my kitty cat all into a Penske truck and drove to Denver, and unexpectedly had to actually turn around and go back for a funeral. And so when I got back out there, I had a 1.5 day turnaround before my first show, and it was 8 hours away in Farmington, New Mexico, which I thought was a lot closer to Denver than it was. But it wasn't, and we did that. And I did have some help with that show, and it was me and another artist who's based in Denver, and we went, and it was great. And then I didn't have like a show schedule or circuit. I didn't really have my housing situation in Denver settled. And it's like, well, what can I get into? What shows can I get into? And I didn't expect to get into any of them. And I got into all of them, and I had 8 straight weeks on the road as soon as I moved out. And I didn't have a trailer. I was like camping, and everything was in my. I did have a 4-wheel drive 4Runner like SUV. Yeah, that definitely helped, because previously I was doing this in a Prius. Like, that was exciting. Hey, the gas mileage was great, and I've been some interesting places rock hounding in that Prius, which is now in its happy retirement with my cousin who drives 5,000 miles in 2 years instead of me that drives 50,000 miles a year. Yeah, so it gets to. But no, I was calling around Denver trying to find out who could put a lift kit on my Prius. Just so that I could support the weight of the rocks that were in the back of it. I sat on the bump stops the whole way back to South Carolina the first time I did that. And that was what it would, okay, it's time to get a real vehicle for this. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. There was a question that you asked that I haven't really
throw in. You answered it. You did.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was it was basically why are you out living this lifestyle? Was your question, and you answered
actually, I kind of answered. The real answer is I spent 6 years in corporate America, and I was incredibly depressed.
That'll do it.
I didn't get outside. I drove a desk. I sat on my behind. Eventually, I was actually commuting 3 hours a day, 140 miles, 5 days a week. For about 1.5 years, and it was literally physically killing me, and I couldn't make myself get outside. And then I got into this rock hounding thing. I went out and dug fossil fish in Wyoming, and it was so much fun.
Green River
Formation.
Fantastic, great place to start.
Yep. And then I got caught in the layoffs, and I was like, I'm not going back to prison. And then I didn't go back to prison. I started my own job, and they built my.
It's a liberation story.
Yeah.
And I've never worked harder. I've never been more uncertain about like, where am I gonna sleep tomorrow? Where do groceries come from? Like, I've had all kinds of survival level stressors that I never had to deal with in my cushy corporate job. And I have never been happier.
That's good. That's good. That's the point of life. Because as animals, we're just supposed to be fulfilling our basic biological needs. Mm-hmm. That's the point of being an animal.
Yeah.
And we've made it very confusing. In fact, I'm watching right now an example that I use for this all the time. In order for me to eat that banana over there, I have to push a mop around your floor for a week. That's how confusing our fulfilling of these biological needs actually is. But if we're actually spending all of our time doing something that's a meaningful and more direct route to fulfilling our basic biological needs, then we're more happy. So people, a lot of there's the intentional poverty. I don't know if you've ever heard of anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Into intentional poverty, but I definitely I have a lot of experience as an analyst in call centers. I was also driven a little nuts by the corporate world. And I have a degree and all the things that I would need to get me a fancy job and wear a tie to it every day.
But you
I
choose
just
not
feel,
to.
well, I feel like that would be like taking something that's very precious, which is my time here on the planet, and investing it into somebody else's bigger picture, which is fine, and people need that, and that's okay, but it's just not something I want to do in my life. I would rather take my life and invest it into my picture and to seeing the things that I want to see and enjoy. And
you're getting a call from your dad.
Hang on.
One of my biggest pleasures in life and things that I'm most enthusiastic about is enjoying really cool looking rocks.
Yeah.
And growing up in Colorado, I saw a whole bunch of cool rocks and was spoiled and didn't know I was spoiled. I had a huge Amazonite collection when I was a kid, and now they're selling little bits of it for hundreds of dollars. I'm always trying to figure out where the zero's at. Amazonite.
Don't even get started on rhodochrosite.
Oh my gosh.
Rhodochrosite,
It goes either way. Rhodochrosite goes two ways. You can get dirt cheap rhodochrosite. You can get Colorado rhodochrosite.
That's true.
But yeah, I got to enjoy a lot of those minerals, and then working for the circus is I broke based on the not wanting to work in corporate America anymore, and progressed my way towards circus work and working at music festivals. And it was really my stress relief, rock hounding, going out and rock hounding in between these shows that had thousands of people all over. I was able to go out there and be by myself in nature with just the rocks.
Yeah.
And then I continued to learn how to get cooler and cooler rocks. And now I do a lot of trips all year. I do a Cave and Rock, Illinois trip every year for rock hounding. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I do I've turned the entire state of Missouri upside down. I've kicked over every pile in the entire state of Missouri and found all the cool rocks. Sorry, Missouri.
There aren't any more left.
I
got them.
I got them. I even lived in Potosi for 2 years because I figured out that that's where all of the cool crystals were coming from.
You're in Missouri. There's the spot to be.
Yes, they know. They followed the creeks to Potosi and then found haunted ridge rocks where they could pay $25 to fill up a bucket.
Yeah.
And I can throw in that most of the time, people that like Mother Nature, like rocks, are pretty down-to-earth people.
I would agree with that.
More relaxed, less stressed.
Some of them anyway. I would mostly agree with that, but there are one of the things working on the show circuit that you find is there are people of every personality type and everybody from and the important thing is that we're all there for the rocks. We love them, and whether you're coming at them from scientific direction or like let's go out and find this ourselves direction, or like can I find the prettiest, bestest, the most fanciest example, and I'm gonna hunt the old estates and like never touch a rock hammer. Like, there's so many ways to do this hobby. And it doesn't matter if you don't know a single thing about a rock except for that you like it. That's enough.
Yeah, urban and store rock hounding is real too.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
real. There's definitely a real thing. Go to Gem World in Quartzsite, Arizona, and like you're gonna find. I'm just as entertained going through every bin in Gem World to try and find that one really cool inclusion rock as I am chipping away on the side of a mountain.
Well, I can tell you where to find the best rocks, no matter where you go. It's old rock collector's basement.
Yes,
that is true.
Absolutely
that is true.
So where's your basement? No, he's not old.
It's
folks.
a
We're not
40-foot container.
That's his shipping container. Where's his basement? We gotta know where his basement is.
That's a great transition to the last question I want to ask, just to wrap this up, is like, some people are in this, like it is what they do now. I was talking to a lady today, Jagger and I were talking to a lady, by the way, Jagger's sewing, thank you Jagger, who's been doing this for 60 years. And of course, Jagger and I are kind of already screwed. We went and got degrees in rocks. So, you know, we're in it for life. But how long have you been doing this, and how long do you think you're going to keep doing this?
I've been rock hunting 20 years. And,
Because you're only about 25, right?
yeah.
You look great.
I started
You look better than I look.
And I'll only be in it as long as I stay on the top side of the green side of the grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's right.
you go underground into mines, so like.
That's true.
I said that wrong.
Yeah, that's what you can't say that about rock hounding.
I do a lot of underground work, old mines, thousands across the country. I've only been 650 feet deep so far. And the miners were mining precious metals. They weren't mining minerals. So a lot of old mines have excellent minerals.
Absolutely. And even if you don't want to go down to the mines, I tell people all the time, to go through the tailings. If you're, if you don't have, if you're too scared to go in the mine, dig through the tailings. You might find better stuff.
I wouldn't mind collecting a little bit of Vivianite epitaxy after I die.
Let me know if you got that in the commenters. So yeah, fantastic.
Well, I figure all my rock hunting will keep me in better shape so I live longer.
That's true.
The fresh air, I don't smoke. I gave up beer many years ago. Enjoy the outdoors.
Are you sure you're from Minnesota?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't know they knew how to give up beer up there.
I was wondering until he said, yeah, sure. And I was like, all right.
I literally think I've been rock hunting my whole life, to answer your question. I bet. When I was a little kid, I went up in the mountains in Colorado and I found a little garnet, and I thought it was a ruby. And I told everybody that I had found a ruby, and that it was worth thousands and thousands of dollars. And my parents encouraged me. They'd be like, "Hey, show up your ruby," you know. And I'd be like, "Oh, that's where I'm retiring on."
And nowadays you're like, "Oh, androgyte."
Yeah, I still have my.
Well, good. That was. It's the sentimental value for that one. You know. Everyone will go around like, yeah, androgyte, dime a dozen, but for you, that's special, right?
It's actually really pretty.
Yeah,
It's gorgeous. It's not a dime a dozen.
No, it is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. But it's not ruby.
It's almondine.
Oh, it's almondine.
And it's very gemmy almondine
That's very cool.
in a vesicle on a volcanic style rock. So
really
it's
cool.
a little bit different than some of the regular Colorado garnets that you see.
Oh, they're the metamorphic rocks. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah,
Very cool. Very cool.
It's something a little bit. It's still cool.
Yeah.
Still look at it
When
today,
you
and I'm
find
like,
and collect your own rocks, they mean that.
Well, I was telling Jagger today, for me, 75% of the enjoyment is finding the rock.
Me too.
And then once you have the rocks, like I've got a lot of rocks that I love in my garage and stuff, but I look at them and he asked me what my favorite thing I've ever found is. And I said, well, I don't think I have a particular rock that I found is my favorite. It's the story behind it.
Yeah.
You know, it's the story of this one has a cool story, and that's why I like this one. That's why it's my favorite, or
Absolutely.
like that.
And that actually really translates on the vendor side, because I mean, I love the stuff that I sell. Like I primarily do tools, but I also have meteorite, fossil, and mineral specimens. But I only sell those things when I find ones that I really like, because it's so easy for me to sell stuff that I like because I get excited about it.
Yep.
And I had a tray of meteorites that one of my mentors had on consignment with me, and he was bringing me some more, and put it down, and my booth was set up over a sewer grate.
Oh no!
And I hadn't had any issues. I've been paying attention, so I didn't cover it over. I pick up the biggest one of the meteorites to look at, and something happened in the Butterfingers, and it hit the edge of the table, and it bounced, and it hit the edge of the sewer grate, and we thought it was going to stop, and then it eased in and dropped down into the bottom of the sewer.
Magnet?
We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Sorry. I'm sorry for spoiling her.
The first thing that we tried was he actually had some magnets out of a hard drive. So he went home and he got them, brought them to me. But we didn't have them on the end of a hard stick. We just had a string. And the sewer grate is iron.
Everything okay?
Yeah. And we couldn't get it through the sewer grate and loose from the sewer grate to get it down, to drop down. So okay. I have a magnet on a stick. I know it's in my car somewhere. Like we'll do this. But the last day of the show, like we kind of gave up on it for that.
Everyone's calling everyone tonight.
We kind of gave up on it there for a minute, but at the very end of the show, after we tore my booth down, we opened the sewer grate, lowered the magnet down, and fished around a little bit, and came up with several pieces of weird-looking iron flag, and then we came up with the meteorite.
Wow.
And we washed it all thoroughly.
I hope you did.
The very next show, 10 minutes into the show, someone comes up and looks at that meteorite. Because it was like part of why I picked it up is it was interesting looking. And I told her the story behind it, and then she had to have it. And it sold immediately. Because it had such a ridiculous, like, this was the meteorite of the rescue from the sewer grate. And the Denver show is long. It's like 11 days.
Yeah.
So it was down there for like 6 or 7 days.
It doesn't even have to be a personal story. I recently just about sold out of all the Vivianite that I had just because I posted a real story about how in the trenches in World War I, they discovered corpses that had a dusting of Vivianite. And so most of the people who ordered Vivianite from me immediately afterwards was like, I want a dead people crystal.
Yes!
It wasn't even they asked for Vivianite. It was like, I want dead people crystal. Sure, here you go, it's $20. The stories definitely mean a lot when it comes to gems and minerals.
And for all you beginner collectors, when you get something, know what it is and try to find out where it came from and keep it with the item. It makes it worth more money. Knowing what it is.
And if you have a question about what it is, bring out someone like me at a museum and we'll help you out.
So I've started functioning with my collection a little bit more like what you guys do. I think about more of like curating what I feel like is an actually significant historically or geologically collection. I only collect self-collected celestial quartz that's terminated on all sides and resembles an icicle.
That's very specific.
And my celestial icicles collection takes up a cabinet. I have about like 80 specimens that meet that criteria. I find a couple a year. And I do a lot of mining in Arkansas. And I've worked for a few mines in Arkansas before. So my theory is that my celestial icicles collection, because it's so specific, unique, different, and geologically significant, will actually end up in the possession of someone like you guys, curating a collection someday, instead of at the bottom of a fish tank with a lot of my friends' collections.
Put a little note in your collection that says, upon my death, donate to Zool Museum. There we go. I'll do it.
Absolutely.
Well, I talked to an older lady that belonged to the rock club in Tucson, and she told me nobody in my family wants rocks. So I got it all set up. When I go, my whole rock collection is going to the rock club.
Yeah.
There's rock clubs all around the country that you can join. It'll help you find other rock hounds.
Yes.
Help people will help take you out rock hunting for different things that you can get.
And they're so inexpensive to join, so I'm really glad that you brought that up. That's one thing that in my booth, I'm a member of several clubs all over the country. If I'm going to be in an area for a while and they've got some cool field trips, I'll join up so that I can go on the field trips and meet the people. I mean, regardless of whether they want to buy my stuff or not. So clubs are one of the absolute best resources.
I paid $15 for annual memberships that I never really even used just because I like the club. And I've had opportunities through them though. Like I could have done lots of fun stuff and it was worth my $15 even though I didn't go in there.
I know people here in Deming who are talking about, people all over the country who are still members of the Deming Club.
Yeah,
and they come for the show and they do. It's a great community.
I'm about to join the Austin Club, and I live all over the place, but I'm in Austin for about 4 weeks out of the year, so I'm going to join Austin's club for $60. I met some of the members of the show.
Yeah, so the clubs tend to range, I think, $15 for family is the least expensive one I've run into, and $65 is the most expensive one I've run into. But the clubs that tend to charge more have things like a lapidary shop where they teach classes and then it's like $1 an hour to go use the shop just to kind of help keep it running. Whereas if you go to somewhere like a jewelry studio and take a class, you're paying like $100 an hour for that instruction. And that is not to knock those places. There's some incredibly skilled instructors and those classes can be a lot of fun. But for people that are poor broke college students, like I feel like I still am, you know, it makes these skills really accessible. And there's so many people, like so many of the clubs that I'm a part of, if you're under about 70, you're a youngin'.
Yeah.
And they want young people to join the club. Super extra bonus points if you bring kids.
Yeah,
because whether they have a junior rock hounds program or not, they will like, you know, one of my home clubs is really small. Like we don't have a junior rock hounds program because we don't have that many kids. But anytime there are kids involved, there are 2 or 3 adults who kind of take charge of it and they find out what kids are into and they provide them all the opportunities to go down every rabbit hole they want to. And we spoil the kids rotten because it's so much fun. Like giving rocks to children, if you could pay me to just hand out, like, be like, pick out your favorite rock. Like, I would never want another job. It's so much fun.
Too many kids are scrolling on the phone, playing the games. They don't know anything about Mother Nature.
Yep.
They don't get out and enjoy it.
That was my first rock distribution job. I wasn't really getting paid to do it. I was actually getting paid to perform on stage at music festivals. And I would walk around with the bag of Arkansas quartz that I had found, and I would say, pick one that speaks to you. To all the people, they'd reach in the bag and pick the one that spoke to them, you know? And I distributed a whole bunch of crystals as the crystal fairy walking around saying that choose one that speaks to you.
It's great. So,
well, guys, thank you. We're gonna go ahead and cut there. We're in a restaurant right now. They might want to close sometime tonight.
no, don't stay. No, their food's great.
Their food is great. Los Victores.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very
Deming,
good.
New Mexico. Come eat here. It's delicious.
It is. But yeah, thank you guys all for talking with me a little bit.
Thanks.
It was really good meeting all you guys, and I'm sure we'll be in contact in the future. And gals, yeah. This was the gender neutral guys.
What's your? I mean, they all know this, but what's your YouTube channel?
Yeah, Gideon stuff. I'll give you guys. a little.
Cool.
Do we get merch and swag? And
You know, I don't have any
free
merch
rocks?
swag yet. Maybe. I will let you guys know when this video comes out. I'll text you a link to it.
Wonderful.
Well, when the AdSense all pans out, we'll
Yeah,
get some rocks in the mail.
I'll probably make about $2 off this video.
Yeah, so we'll.
All right, so pyrite. You're gonna send us some pyrite then, right?
Sure. I talk a lot of
10 cents worth of pyrite. For
I talk
royalties.
about pyrite a lot on the channel. So.
Oh, I love me some sulfide minerals. I would love, we could do a follow up on. I'll pull out all my fun stuff if you would like.
One of these days we'll have to, but thank you guys for talking.
No problem.
And go ahead and get there, Jagger. And that's just about all I've got to say, guys. Thank you again to Sara, Phil, and Paul for sitting down with me. Meeting people like them makes these shows so worth it. I absolutely love connecting with people who are passionate about something. It's really cool when people are passionate about something that I'm also passionate about, but just seeing passion in people in general always makes me really, really happy. And hearing the stories at these shows it's inspiring. There's a couple I want to share. There's this woman that I met who was an absolutely fantastic artisan. She made the agate knife. I'm sure I think I got video of that. I'll throw up a picture of it if not. Wonderful, wonderful lady. She's in her 80s. She's been doing this for, I think she said, 55 years. She's gone all over the country. And as I was talking to her, people were coming up and they were shaking her hand and they're saying, "It's so good to see you again. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you." People were telling me stories about her. People are coming up to me saying, "This is one of the most badass women you will ever meet." I was hearing stories about this lady hiking miles and miles through the wilderness, injured. I was hearing stories about her helping people out. And then I found out that her house had recently been robbed. And she had lost basically everything. But around that same time, one of her other friends, who was also there at the show, his house was completely flooded out in Florida. And she drove to Florida to help him rebuild. And a bunch of people in the community were getting together to help this woman rebuild her life because of everything that she's done for all of them. And yeah, damn it, if that's what it's all about. That's why we're all here, you know? We're all here to help each other. We're all here to make connections and appreciate our lives through the way that we interact with those around us, to share a little bit of ourselves with everyone. And it's inspiring. It really is. I wish I had more time to talk about all the different people that I met at these shows, all the wonderful stories I heard. I wish I could remember all of them, right? I remember a lot of faces and names, but there's so many amazing people and there's so many fantastic stories. It's honestly a little bit overwhelming, but in a good way, in a really, really good way. So if there's anything you take away from this video, I hope it's that people are awesome. And next time you're at a rock or mineral show, talk to some of the vendors. Ask them about their stories. They are probably going to be some of the most interesting people you will ever meet. And they live a hard life. Spending your time on the road, it's difficult. It's hard. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone's built for that kind of stuff. But they do it because they love it. They do it because that's their calling. They do it because that Wild West spirit, that thirst for adventure that pushed our ancestors across the ocean, across deserts, it's still alive. And it's in these people who don't fit into the 9 to 5. It's in people who want to do more with their life than subject themselves to office work into eternity. People who are willing to live their lives on passion. And I think that's something that we can all be inspired by. And that's where I'm going to end the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Big shout out to my channel members right here at the Cowboy level. I appreciate everything they do. They are truly awesome. And couldn't do anything without them. If you want to support the channel directly, there's a link down below. As for the rest of you hooligans, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment below, and subscribe. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one.